Hello everybody. Today in this session we'll discuss theories of wages. Now in theories of wages session, our learning objective will be to understand the concept and definition of wages. Then we'll be discussing, we'll be understanding the different theories of wages. Now for that we'll address answer of two questions. And these two questions are, what do you understand by wage? Then second, discuss the different theories of wages. Or write short note on the following. Number one, the subsistence theory of wages. Then standard of living theory of wages. Wage fund theory of wages. So these are the main theory. On that you need to write short note, like this question may come. This is basically about the learning objective and the chapter outline. Today what we are going to cover. So first we'll discuss about the concept and definition of the wage. Wages may be defined as the price paid for the use of labor. I said, I repeat, wages may be defined as the price paid for the use of labor. So here we need to understand again the price. Price is basically the monetary value which a customer or anyone pays to acquire a product or service. So here the price paid for the use of labor. That means if anyone use the labor, the person may need to pay the price. So that is basically the money. Money in terms of wages or price given to the labor. That is basically the wages. Now there are different types of wages are available, namely price wage, time wage, money wage, real wage, etc. But among these all, money wage is basically very popular. Money as wage are very popular. So we need to know what is money wage. Money wage is the rate per hour or per day or per week or per month for the service of an individual. What I said, that money wage is the rate per day, per hour, per week, per month for the service of an individual. It can be per day basis, it can be weekly basis, it can be monthly basis. Okay, for the service of an individual. Therefore, for farms, money wage represent the labor cost of production. What I said, that for a farm, money wage represent the labor cost of production. Now in this regard, there are different theories have been put forward from time to time to explain how wages are determined. So in this regard, we will discuss three main theory of the wages. These three main theories are the subsistence theory of wages, then standard of living theory of wages, wage fund theory of wages. So here first we'll discuss subsistence theory of wages. Now in the subsistence theory of wages, first you need to understand what is subsistence meaning. This is basically the state of having just enough money or food to stay alive. What I say, subsistence refers to the state of having just enough money or food to stay alive. That means for our existence, what amount of food or money we need minimum. That is basically the subsistence level. Or in other words, we can say that subsistence level means the minimum amount needed for the survival of man. What I said, I repeat. Subsistence level means the minimum amount needed for the survival of man. Now, the subsistence theory of wages was first formulated by physiocratic school of French economics of 18th century. So that time, there was renowned economist and his name is Malthus. So Malthus, in his theory of population, explained that wages are equal to the subsistence level. The theory explained that if wages are more than the subsistence level, the population or supply of labor will increase. What I said, the theory explained that if wages are more than the subsistence level, means what human being require to survive, if the wages are more than that, then population supply or labor supply will increase. Thus, with the increase in the supply of labor, wages tend to settle at subsistence level. And vice versa. According to Karl Marx, wages in a capitalist economy are determined by the cost of subsistence. What I said, that according to Karl Marx, wages in a capitalist economy are determined by the cost of subsistence. So here you need to remember the meaning of the subsistence. Then it will be easy for you to remember the theory. This implies that at the minimum necessary level, the supply of labor is perfectly elastic. Perfectly elastic means it is, easily available at the minimum level of the subsistence. Because of existence of reserve army of unemployed, and thereby there is no possibility to raise the wages rate. Because reserve army of unemployed means unemployment are huge, so labor force are all ready to sell their labor, so there is no possibility to raise the wage rate. Therefore, wages are determined by the amount of money required by the labor to satisfy his necessary needs. Okay, then another renowned economist is there, is Professor Lewis. Professor Lewis, in his model of economic development based on the assumption of unlimited supply of labor, explained that supply of labor in an underdeveloped economy is perfectly elastic at the existence subsistence wage rate. Now later on, his theory was further explained by and improved by a German economist who called it as in the iron law of wages. Iron law of wages. And according to the theory, labor power is a commodity. Labor power means the force of labor is treated as a commodity like goods, service, and its price is determined by the cost of production. That is the minimum subsistence expense required for the support of the worker and his family, so that the continuous supply of labor is maintained. Then the exponent of this theory held that wages have a tendency to settle only at the subsistence level, or the cost of production. Now, like we need to think, if at the subsistence level, labor supply is okay and labor supply is at a optimum level, then it's okay. But if labor supply increase and the subsistence level of wages decline or slip below the wages, slip below the subsistence level, then what will happen? Like surplus labor and the wages slipped below the subsistence level. So in that case, the reduction of population will take place through starvation or hunger, or people will suffer from disease, because there will be shortage of resources like food, money, and that will bring down the labor force. There will be shortage in the supply of labor due to the starvation, then disease. This tendency will continue to operate until wages were again raised to the minimum subsistence level. Okay, so this you need to understand. The tendency will be continuing to operate until the wages again raised to the minimum subsistence level. And the theory of subsistence is highly applicable to the developing or underdeveloped countries. In underdeveloped or developing countries, unskilled labor is paid a wages which is at or near to the subsistence level. Okay, so in the subsistence theory of wages, what we have learned that the wages raise is fixed by the subsistence level, that is the minimum amount of money, enough money or food a person needs to stay alive. Then now we'll go through the standard of living theory of wages. In the standard of living theory of wages, standard of living basically refers to the amount and quality of material or goods, service are available to a given population. See, before starting the standard of living theory of wages, I am telling you that how you can understand the standard of living. Standard of living refers to the amount and quality of goods, service required by a person to survive. Okay, or the amount or quality of goods and service required by a group of population. Okay, now coming to the wages theory, the standard of living theory is an improved version of the subsistence theory of wages. What I said, it is a improved version of the subsistence theory of wages. The theory says that the wages are determined by the standard of living of the laborers. Thus, it implies that it is not only the basic necessity of life that are taken into consideration, but also include the amount of money that the labor can afford to spend on education, recreation, etc. Education, health, recreation, etc. There are two main advantages of the standard of living theory of wages are there. These two advantages are: standard of living theory consider both efficiency and productivity of the worker. What I said, the main advantage of the standard of living theory is that this theory considers both efficiency and productivity of the worker. Then second benefit is that the theory focus on the social status of the individual. Social status. What I said, the second advantage of the standard of living theory of wages is that the theory focus on the social status of the individual. That is basically the standard of living. What I was telling, that standard of living refers to the amount and quality of goods and service given to a particular population or available for a particular population. Now, this theory have some criticism also. Among the criticism, the most two important vital criticisms are like, the first criticism about the standard of living theory is that there is no fixed standard of living for which an individual are habitual. Like, standard of living varies person to person, family to family. Okay, so as there is no fixed standard of living which individuals are habitual, so through this wages cannot be determined. And another important criticism is that wages depend upon the standard of living to which an individual are habitual. Then in that instance, standard of living should be fixed. But in reality, what happens? The individual standard of living will remain fixed, but the wages are likely to fluctuate. What I said, in reality, what happens? The standard of living of the individual remain fixed, but the wages keeps fluctuating, increase or decrease. So these are two main important criticism about the standard of living theory of the wages. The next theory will discuss wage fund theory. Wage fund theory of wages. The wage fund theory was propounded by John Stuart Mill. John Stuart Mill was a renowned economist, and according to him, wage fund theory is a definite improvement over the subsistence theory, as it allows for the influence of demand as well as supply. What I said, I am repeating. According to John Stuart Mill, wage fund theory is a definite improvement over the subsistence theory of wages, as it follows means wage fund theory follows for the influence of demand as well as supply. Now, according to this theory, wages depends upon the proportion between population and capital. Wages depend upon the proportion between population and capital, rather than between the number of laboring class who work on hire and the aggregate of what may be called the wage fund, which consists of that part of circulating capital which is expended in direct hire of labor. Now we are going to explain this further. Now, based on this, wage fund theory are determined by two factors. If we understand the two factors, then it will be very clear. Wage fund theory, as I said, is determined by two factors. Now, these two factors is first, number one, wage fund, then second is population. So, what is wage fund? So, wage fund refers to the amount of capital which is set apart by the entrepreneurs for the purchase of the service of labor. What I said, I am repeating. The question was, what is wage fund? This is wage fund theory, so we should know what is wage fund. And if we understand these two factors, then this will be very clear. So waste fund refers to the amount of capital which is set apart by the entrepreneurs for the purchase of the service of labor. That means with the organization or with the entrepreneurs, what amount of capital means money, is available for the purchase of the service of labor. That means how much money is available with a particular person to purchase the service of the labor. Now population is another factor. Population refers to the section of people which enters the labor market for employment. Population here refers to the total population size which enters the labor market for employment. So these are the two factors which we need to understand the waste fund theory. In waste fund theory, two factor: waste fund, what is waste fund, then population. Population is the labor force, reserve of unemployment army. What I said, reserve of unemployed army. Army means labor service provider person. Now waste fund depends upon the proportion. Waste fund depend upon the proportion or ratio between the capital or waste fund and population, and this can be explained like if we say average wage. So how to calculate the average wage? Average wage equal to waste fund divided by population. Say for example, if a entrepreneur having 100 rupees 100 as waste fund, this 100 rupees the person may spend to get the service of labor. So there are 5 population. Okay, so 5 population. This is this 5 population. 5 population means 5 person. Population size is 5. Okay, so that means 5 person are ready to sell their labor. So 100 divided by 5. So average wages will be 20 rupees 20. The entrepreneurs can give 20 rupees as wages to the labor to get the service. So this equation shows that waste can increase either when waste fund increase or when population decrease. What I said, that this equation shows that wages can increase when waste fund can increase. Like if the person increase the waste fund from 100 to 200 rupees. Okay, then their wages will be 40 per person. In another case, if the population decrease. Further, John Stuart Mill argues that waste fund can be increased by saving which is not under control of workers. So if they want an improvement in their wages level, they should reduce the numbers. That means labor class should control their labor force, and that should be reduced. And in the waste fund, there is another concept, wage stock. Like waste stock means stock of any commodity, and with exchange of commodity, labor can be labor service can be available. So in regard to the wage stock, it is being criticized hugely. The concept of waste stock. Waste stock means the entrepreneurs may have stock of commodity or goods, and in exchange of labor, the person may give goods. But this concept of waste stock is being criticized very hugely, and on the ground, it was criticized that waste fund cannot be regarded as a stock. What I said, that waste fund cannot be recognized as a stock or fixed amount during a specified period of time, because the supply of wages goods can be increased over a period of time. What I said, I repeat, the waste fund theory was being criticized for the waste stock concept, and it was criticized that waste fund cannot be regarded as a stock or fixed amount during a specified period of time, because the supply of wage, that is goods, can be increased over a period of time. Okay, now coming to the overall discussion, as I said that today we have discussed the theories of wages, and in theories of wages we have addressed a question, what is wages. Then we have discussed three theories of the wages. First theory, we have discussed the subsistence theory of the wages, which is basically based on the minimum amount of wages needed for the survival of man. Minimum wages needed for the survival of the human being. Then we have discussed standard of living. Standard of living, based on the standard of living, wages need to be determined. Then waste fund theory. In the waste fund theory, entrepreneur will decide a fund for giving the wages. Okay, and based on that, wages will be given. So these are the main three theory of the wages. And thank you everybody for participating in this session. Next class we will discuss another new topic.